All right. Thanks for joining us today for today's CRE Tech Talk. I'm Lauren Keim with Lehigh University's prestigious Goodman Center for Real Estate. I've got a great guest here with me today. But before I introduce him, let me start by mentioning two of the issues that I've been hearing over and over and over again as we do these discussions. One of them is real estate brokerages and agencies complaining about the enormous fees that they pay the major CRE portals like LoopNet and CoStar to highlight their listings. And the second is the complaint from investors who can't see most of the inventory that's available and have to go from website to website and agent to agent, broker to broker to find those great deals when they should know that I've got them all. I'm just kidding. Several platforms has launched over the past few years to try to fill that void. And of course, all of them need to make money. So they have varying methods of generating a revenue stream. One of the strongest emerging platforms recently has been the LDCRE platform, which has a unique method of funding their company in a way that real estate professionals can capitalize on it. It's a free commercial marketplace with over 150,000 listings, spanning 42 countries and over
Okay.
11,500 markets, with over $1 trillion in property for sale and billions of square feet of for lease. Today, I have with me the CEO and founder of LDCRE, Brendan Hotchkiss. Brendan started his prestigious real estate career or his great real estate career over 2 decades ago with Marcus Millichap. And then about 15 years ago, he went into the private equity side, the investing capital in commercial real estate assets, being part of Wex Trust, if I'm pronouncing it right, Johnson Capital, and finally becoming the managing partner of Leavitt Capital, where he's the lead in representing over $4 billion in CRE loans, among many other things. Brendan, welcome. Did I get most of that correct? And you're actually still muted, Brendan. Sorry about that. Oh, you're still muted. Hang on.
There, is that better?
That's better, definitely.
Okay. My volume didn't kick on till about 2 minutes ago. So, but what I heard, everything sounded pretty accurate, except one small footnote. We don't have 400 or what 4 billion in loans out. I've done about 4 billion in loans and restructuring. Actually, probably significantly more. That was probably like 8 years old in LinkedIn. I just never updated that sentence. I'm a little guilty of that myself, but that was either as a principal or an intermediary or on behalf of my companies that I was with at the time. But yeah, it's been over 4 billion over the years, but we don't have a current book of 4 billion in debt placements right now. I just wanted to be clear.
No, no problem. Can you tell us a little bit about the concept behind LDCRE and why you think this platform, which is already a strong contender for eyeballs of investors, is going to continue to be a major contender and maybe a greater contender in a co-star type world?
Yeah. First off, thank you for having me, and thank you for everyone's time. What I think probably the easiest way to understand why we do things the way we do is sort of looking at our DNA. We started out as brokers. We still are brokers. So, we created our marketplace with that ideology in mind. And there's other platforms out there. I respect them all, but we just looked at the world differently. We looked at it as seeing we don't want to be a SaaS. We don't want to be a monthly subscription platform where we're charging people to list or people to view on our platform. We just didn't think that sat well with us as brokers, so we didn't want to do that as a platform. So every one of my teachers in business school would probably have told me this was the wrong way to do things because we decided let's build a company and not even know how we'll ever make money. So we started out building a free marketplace to list, free to view. And we had no idea what we were going to do to monetize that. We thought, you know what? Let's just see if we can grow this. And there were a number of pivot points over the past 6 years where we fine-tuned one thing, dropped another, and it brought us to the point where we realized that we were onto something. We scaled big. I remember at the end of our first year, we had $1 billion of properties for sale. We're like, wow, that's a big number. But, in the big picture, it really wasn't. Now we're at about 1.25 trillion in listings. When we crossed the threshold of about $600 billion in property for sale on our platform, we thought, all right, we have about 600 billion in for sale properties. We have, I think at the time it was about 20,000 users. So we thought, all right, now we need to figure out how this makes money. And over the course of time, we had a number of brokers reaching out to us. We had venture cap companies approaching us saying, if you just changed your model a little, the venture cap guys wanted us to start charging people to list or people to view. And we just said, no, that's not our model. That model exists. It's out there. Other groups are doing it. We don't want to be a watered down version of that. And we had brokers approaching us saying, we'll pay you more just to put our, to further promote our listings or to put them at the top of the search results. We thought, that's still sort of like a SaaS model. We don't want to do that. But we kept getting these requests, and we thought, well, we do have investors. We have relationships with about 30,000 active brokers on our platform. How could we build a solution that works for everyone without turning into what we don't want to be, a SaaS platform? And we came up with this plan where investors can now register on our platform, enter in their investment specs. And this is, I think we've done a lot of homework, and it's a good model now, but this is still in its infancy stages. This will be fine-tuned over the coming years. But investors can register with us. There's no delay to them seeing properties that come up in their geographic locations. They'll see things in real time. There's not a 30 or 60-day delay like some platforms that are the paid/free models where you can see everything, but it may just take time to see it, the 60-day delay if you're not paying. So we came up with that. And as much as I'd like to take credit for this next step, it wasn't my idea. It was one of the advisors in our company said, that's great, but you have all these brokers on your platform, and a lot of them are more focused on listings than they are on running around with their clients as buyers. What if you found a way to expand your current model where the investors can register for properties that match their acquisition criteria, and allowed brokers to invite all of their clients, and then you work with all of them and those clients as well, and the broker would share in the proceeds? We thought, wow, that sounds complicated, but we went to the whiteboard and we worked through it, and this took probably 12 months of not just the engineering portion of how does that function within our platform, but how do we build something that could totally make sense, but also be accepted by the brokerage community, the principal buyer, and not just the broker on the buy side, but the buy side and the list side. So we developed what we thought was a workable solution for all parties that fully embraces the brokerage community. And to me, that's important because my whole family is pretty much brokers. So coming from that, the last thing you want to do is build something that minimizes a broker's role in the commercial real estate industry. So sort of a long-winded answer to your question, but that was how we came up with a plan to be different, because we came at this from, being brokers, and we looked at it that brokers are a necessity in this space, and we can work with them and create a platform that's mutually beneficial for everyone, and everyone can have a piece of the earnings through the model that we did. Or, we could have just been a SaaS platform where people are paying up front and you don't know if you're ever going to lease or sell the space, but you're essentially just paying to advertise. And we just wanted to stay away from that.
So if I understand it correctly, and you're going to step us through this, the concept is a real estate broker, whether they're in Manhattan or whether they're in Miami, is going to put their investors theoretically into this platform, or invite their investors into the platform where they can see everything. And the investor may come back to their agent and buy that property, or the investor may end up somehow going directly to the listing agent. If they do that, however, and keep in mind that most investors don't necessarily work only with one broker, they sometimes work with everyone and they look everywhere they can. If they find something on this platform and they buy it, then there's a referral fee charged to the listing broker that partly goes back to LDCRE and then partly comes back to the broker who initially invited them into the platform. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, yes. Maybe a little confusion on the front end, but yes, you're right about the splits. So our platform's open. It's free to anyone. You could list on our platform say you have a listing on our platform and a buyer or a broker just finds you on our platform. They reach out to you, say, "Hey, we want to buy this." We're not in that deal, and we're totally cool with that. We don't look to get into people's pockets where we don't provide value. And that's why we like this model. Like, you can utilize our platform and never pay us a penny. But if you have a listing on our platform and we go out there and through our investor database and our software, if we're able to match some of our registered buyers to your product on our platform and we bring them to the table, per our terms and conditions of listing on our site, we expect your cooperation. And, unlike traditional deals, every fee is negotiable, but, everyone shows up at that table saying they want half when the buy side broker brings their buyer to a deal. I've been the buy side broker and I've been the listing agent. So I've argued both sides of that equation. And, sometimes people are fair and sometimes people aren't. So we looked at this and said, what is a fair fee for that? We don't want to get heavy into the listing agent's product pocket. We're building a model that we're not trying to get rich through one deal. We're building a model where we can do this, hopefully 10,000 times a year, where we're almost acting like an exchange, pairing buyer to matching product. And we're there, we help facilitate things, but we take a step back and let the listing agent run with the ball, take the credit. And the fee that we plugged in after doing sort of a small focus group on this, we asked a number of brokers what they would be willing to pay. And we had a number in our head before we asked this. But we asked a number of brokers what they would be willing to pay for a referral fee for a solution like this. And they said the answer that we got was between 20 and 25%. And we thought, all right, cool, because we're thinking 15, and I want to be under that number. I don't ever want us to push a threshold where someone feels like they're paying more than they should for this. We want the listing agents to see this as a great way for them to have to do less work to get a buyer for their product, while they can go out and find more listings. And it only costs them 15% of their gross fee. Now, from that 15%, we then split it with, if, say, Jim Zuma, the broker, brings us a buyer. That buyer, if that guy he or her, excuse me, registers the first year and buys this deal, we'll pay Jim Zuma 50% of that 15% referral that we take. If the buyer buys this in year 2, we pay out 25% to the broker who invited this client. Year 3 through any years after that, we pay out 10% on any deals that he does. So we have a tiered scale, but the broker who invites the investor will always be paid from us on any deal that their clients do. And, as you want, I can go into more detail on that of, how can brokers trust us with this setup that we don't end up being evil people and stealing their clients.
So if we have an investor, let's say, and we're showing them properties in our region, whatever region that happens to be, we're in Jersey City, New Jersey, and we're showing them those properties. But that investor may also be looking in Myrtle Beach or in Orlando, Florida, or Miami, or wherever. If we actually input that buyer into this system, and there is a deal that's struck through the system, the brokerage would continue to get referral fees from that buyer, even though they're looking elsewhere and working with someone else.
Or even if they're in your own market, like you pointed out earlier, buyers sometimes are not in a committed relationship like the broker is. They're going to talk to whoever brings them deals sometimes. And look, it's unfortunate, but it's a reality, especially if they're in an exchange. What's more important to them? loyalty to one broker or placing, possibly $5 million are going to have a major tax consequence on. So I think this is not, we're not looking to replace buy side brokerage. We're looking to be a catch all. So, in addition to you taking your buyer shopping for deals, they could be registered on our platform. And if there's things they find through us, you're still covered by registering them. And, sort of to make sure that there's a point of clarification, you said if the broker registers their buyer, how we set this up, the broker can't register the buyer. The broker can invite the buyer with the broker's code to create a buyer profile on our platform. But we did it that way because we didn't want brokers stacking our our database with clients that don't want to work with that broker. Or just blanket emailing 10,000 people who they have no relationship with whatsoever. So we thought that would be a great way to burn our reputation by allowing that to happen. So how we designed it was we realized brokers wouldn't want to give us their information, and I don't blame them on that. So we designed this in a way where brokers can simply create a profile on our platform, copy the invite and the broker's own unique code, and simply email that to either one of their clients or 1,000 of them. But it's coming from them to sign up to our platform.
It's interesting. So if there is an investor, let's say in a region, and they have been talking to 25 different brokers over time, if we're the ones, as an example, that register that client on your platform, theoretically, we're the ones over time that benefit from that.
100%.
Right.
You in our mind, you are procuring. You
Okay.
are the procuring cause for him to be in our platform. Similar to someone being the procuring cause on a transaction, and that's why what's great for us is, it's sort of funny when we first tell this to brokers how this model works. The first reaction almost every time is, this sounds great. I'll probably invite not my top 5% of guys, but my bottom 95%. And we sort of always laugh because honestly, it's the same way I'd look at it. But here's the reality of that is your top 5 guys that produce the most, there's probably 20 guys that are going to invite that top 5%, because they're going to be well-known buyers in the market. They are going to be invited to our platform probably more times by more people than the bottom 5% of your Rolodex. So, obviously there's no pressure, but we like to sort of explain the other side of the perspective to brokers. Like, you have nothing to lose by inviting all of your clients, because everyone has overlapping Rolodexes, and probably every one of your clients are going to receive an invite to our platform from one broker or another. It may as well be you, and you may as well safeguard yourself on any fees generated from deals they do on our platform.
Is this something where there are many brokers inviting their clients now? Are there, hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of investors now logging into the platform?
No, honestly, it's really funny. So we spoke with Randy Workman, reached out to us because we're already connected with Rheology, and it was a completely different reason why he and I started speaking. And then when you and I connected a couple weeks ago, this just happened to be right when we finished up this platform. We have not even really pushed it heavy. This was going to be really, we just started trickling it out because, like I said earlier, I would call this like beta light. We've been working on it and it's been functioning properly, but we didn't want to push this out to the masses and find like a bug in our code that we'd then have to go back and, apologize to 50,000 people for a bug. So we honestly just connected with you guys at the beginning of the first inning, like right as this is really about to be heavily launched, and looked at it and thought, if you guys want to be sort of the first team that really embraces this, there's still so many unclaimed investors in our platform. It's still really brand new. We haven't pushed it heavy.
On the listing side, you're already getting API feeds from a lot of the large firms like Marcus and Millichap at NAI and Cushman & Wakefield, and of course Central 21 Commercial.
Yeah, we actually just finished connecting. I don't know, probably like 3 in the morning today with RealNex was our latest API connection. We have,
Sure.
I mean, yeah, there's 7,000 brokerage firms streaming into us from multiple different APIs. We already have more APIs that want to connect to us, and we had to sort of tell them, give us a month. We've been back to back on projects, and we've learned over the last few years to try to not do too many APIs at the same time, because you have the engineers dealing with engineers of the other API, and we did it once and it created some issues, so we try to only do one API connection at a time. So now that we finished with RealNex, I think Sharp Launch is the next one that we're connecting to our platform. I think they're based out of New York off the top of my head. I'm not entirely sure.
For those of you who aren't familiar with RealNex, it's a platform that's a preferred vendor with CCIM, and it's something that allows that does a lot of things. There's a CRM associated with it. There's a software package that allows you to build a pro forma for a property, and there's a deal room in the back end that allows brokers, particularly CCIMs, to interconnect and put deals through their deal room. So there's a lot of inventory already in that platform. It was a fairly strong platform to begin with. So they're pushing their information over, of course, to LDCRE as well.
Yeah, and it's funny. Yeah, they'll be a great add to our platform. It's funny how some brokerage firms or brokers are specific on what platforms they want to market on. Others blanket all of them. So connecting with RealNex will bring in a number of agents and firms that probably are not heavy on our platform yet. So it'd be interesting. I think it adds significantly to our user base as well as our inventory.
How are your number of visits compared to like a LoopNet right now? I know you're growing pretty rapidly.
We're probably nowhere near LoopNet. I mean, they're a $20 billion company. So I heard like numbers that they were spending on advertisement. I don't think I could match that in 20 years, but we've oddly enough, we haven't taken any outside capital. This has all been funded internally. We're at the point where people are starting to show up and offer us money. A couple of years ago, we were running around begging on the street, and we just figured, you know what? I think we have to suck it up and, pitch in more capital and do this the right way without compromising our vision. The people that we were talking to were interested in giving us money, but they wanted us to do things their way. And I just didn't want to do that. So to date, it's all been self-funded. And now we're at the point where we're seeing significant gains in a number of different growth patterns, whether it's user base, inventory, deal flow, projected revenues. So, I think over the next few years, we'll see we'll grow in a number of different ways and be able to deploy capital into a number of different ways that we'll see ROI come back to us for growth.
Incidentally, Randy is on with us right now, and he just pushed through a note that currently LoopNet has 5 million views a month, which is
Yeah.
significant. But again, keep in mind that one of the challenges with LoopNet or any of these software packages or platforms is that most investors can't see most of the inventory that's available. So those deals are either going peer to peer in certain metro markets, or they're coming through a platform like a LoopNet, where someone has to pay a lot of money to see that. And that's where investors are looking for alternatives. And this is one of those alternatives. Would you be able to? I did made you co-host, so would you be able to do a quick explanation of how this works on your platform?
You betcha. Okay. Bear with me.
And by the way, whenever I do one of these tech talks, I'm not doing a sales pitch for any particular software firm, but it's interesting the way uh, the public or the consumers, the realtors are adapting to the changes going on in the marketplace and how we work around some of the challenges that we have. And some of these platforms are pretty interesting.
Sorry, just trying to minimize the pop-ups while I'm doing this. Um, this thing doesn't want to cooperate.
I found it
Okay.
interesting when I was talking to you a couple of weeks ago because those agents who are early to this particular platform and actually invite their investors to the platform, whether there's someone who's looking for the 4 unit around the corner in San Francisco or whether they're looking for that skyscraper in Washington D.C., they will be able to see everything that's available because so much is going on to this platform. There's so many API feeds coming from major brokerages that investors are going to be able to do their own searches and they can drill down pretty well with this. And of course, from the brokerage perspective, if you at least get part of a fee coming back, that's never a bad thing.
No, no, I think you hit on a couple things there that are important to us. One, you're right. We don't restrict anything. This is all open network. There's no paywall. Um, there's no delay. So an investor that registers with us can see deals day one that match their inventory. Um, and then, like you said, it's wide open. So if someone registered, say 500 buyers or 500 of their clients with us, over the next couple months, they're protected on those 500 clients indefinitely. Um, why don't I jump in and sort of give you a walkthrough of how this works and show you like a demo of this table, if that works for you?
I appreciate it.
Okay. So here, someone just comes to our site and they say, well, I'm going to do a property search. Um, I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, so it's going to default to my area. Let's see here. What deals haven't I looked at yet? I don't know if I've seen this one. So we have a Comfort Inn and Suites for 7.8 million. We'll say, let me take a look.
I like the term war room, by the way. That's pretty interesting.
Sounds violent, huh?
Right.
Uh, yeah, I don't, you should have saw like what it was called at first. We're like, this is so confusing. If we have to do a demo, it should at least sort of represent, what it is. So, okay, let me take a step back. So you're a buyer and you set your investment parameters for hotels in Arizona or properties in the greater Phoenix market. And you get an email that you like this deal may fit that's the other great thing. You asked about our web traffic. If our web traffic's at zero, this is still a viable platform because we are emailing the registered buyers deals that we think match for them. So they don't need to be combing through our platform for 2 hours a day. So we'll say your buyer is emailed a list of deals, this being one of them. Okay, he comes back, he says, "Hey Brendan, I want to buy this." He doesn't go through you. At this point, you registered him. He contacts us. So we say, "All right, the Comfort Inn and Suites in Arizona. So I'll come here, I'll search this. It's not coming up. So I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to add a new deal into the war room. Comfort Inn and Suites. So now, that's not good. Typically, that would pop right up. So when is it in here? Oh, yeah. The reason it didn't come up is it's already here. So when we add a new deal to the war room, it populates here and it won't. I must have used this as an example last week. So we'd go in here. This is our war room in our admin section. You cannot see this. And we would go in here. We edit the deal. So a lot of times, as other people on this call may know, brokers may not put 100% of the information out there. Sometimes it for certain reasons. Other times it's, just being a little lazy. I've done it myself. So, maybe the price is missing. Maybe the number of floors. See, look here. So we'd go through, we'd fill in these blanks. Then, here's the broker who we registered Brian Nash. He's a dummy, not a dumb person, but a made up person. I should have explained that better. This is for demo purposes. The listing's real, but we created this just for a demo. So we have Brian Nash in here. Brian Nash is registered with me. So when I type in Brian Nash's name, how this would function is mine would automatically fill in because we entered Brendan Hotchkiss's invite code with Brian Nash. And that'll make more sense to you in a minute. So because we enter Brian, Brendan auto fills in here. Any financial info, we would update the cap rate because they click this auto fills with stuff the broker puts in, but if they don't put it in, it remains vacant. Now, seeing as this is a hotel, maybe a zero cap rate is real right now. I don't know what the last 12 months, how kind they've been to this property. And then here we designate a person from our group as the point person for the broker. So if this is your client, you would see me as the point person to reach out to. So boom, we'll update that. Now I'm going to show you what you would see on your end. So I'm switching screens here. I'm getting out of I'm going to my account. So this is not an admin account. This is just me, Brendan, being a broker. So you come here, you're like, I'm going to create a profile. This is the page you'd get to. If you're a principal, you're a buyer, this is editing your investor profile. What you like to buy things 100% fee simple. Are you a JV money guy doing preferred equity? This helps us understand each buyer a little more. This is where you can create save searches. You go into here, you would be clicking save. So if I did that, that would then populate here. Let me see, I just went, okay, my investments. If I am a principal, these are where these would be, under my investments. Now, these are all related to me, my investment information, these 3 tabs. Now I have client investment information. You could be both a broker and a principal on our platform. That just means all of these would be relative to you. If you're simply acting as just a broker and you're not doing any principal investments, my investments would just be empty. That's all. So as a principal, or excuse me, as a broker, I want to invite my clients. So here's where I would go to sort of understand the structure that LDCRE has. And we give a brief overview. I won't waste everyone's time reading to them sentence by sentence. But here's what's interesting. So this is my unique code. To be a buyer or a principal registered on our platform, you need a code. You need to enter in a code for your account to be valid. So when you invite your clients to our platform, you would copy this. This here will be the same thing as there. It's going to be just specific to you. So when your client clicks this and says, yeah, I have nothing to lose registering for this, they'll then be asked a code. They enter this and they are tagged to your account. And you'll see what I mean in a moment. So here, this is me as a broker, Brendan the broker. These are my clients that I invited. Now, these are the dummies that I was telling you because I'm not going to put out my real Rolodex on here every time we do a demo. That wouldn't be my best move. So these are all the dummy broker, or excuse me, dummy buyers that we've created that are tied to my account number. They entered in my number and they're attached to me. These are then deals that they are under contract with LDCRE. Again, these aren't real deal. They're real listings, but these aren't really under contract. They're just for example purposes. So we see that you as a broker would see all of your registered clients and any deals they do. Now you're like, well, I see Brian Nash in there 5 times. Well, yeah, because we're saying this is what it would look like if Brian Nash has 5 deals under contract with us. Well, what about Bert Polson down here? Well, Bert Polson registered as an investor, but he has no deals under contract. This is where it would say if it's active, if it closed, if it died. You want to see some details. This gives you some broad specs on it. We sort of give enough information for where we think the broker should be happy, but we don't want to give out too much information where a broker may start calling 50 people and asking 1,000 questions. Part of this is you have to hand over a little bit of control. If it's your clients going through this transaction, you will be paid on it, but you can't jump into the middle of it every time you have a question. And because we don't want your buyer getting upset with us or the listing agent. We're trying to do this as helpful but as hands off as possible. We are acting in a referral capacity. We are not looking to be on the phone every day with the buyer or every day with the listing broker. We want the listing broker to get the street credit on this and take 85% of that fee. If the buyer seeks additional financing, we're happy to stay involved in the deal and arrange that financing. So as a broker, let me tell you where I see our own biggest objections, because I think by me telling you them, I think it allows you to understand that we've thought through them. So if I'm a broker and I'm hearing this from LDCRE, I'm like, that sounds great, but you're going to steal my clients and you're going to screw me over. You're not going to pay me and you're going to list all my clients' properties. And that would be the first thing I would say once I heard this. And here's why, well, I can't ever guarantee, but I'll tell you why that won't work for us. For this model to work, we have to remain married to one side of the equation. We can't list even one property as a broker, or this completely blows up our trust with our entire community. So it's not like we can't get a little pregnant doing something wrong. If we do one deal as a listing agent, we lose credibility with everyone. So we made the decision, we're not doing it, we can't do it. So that's one, we're never going to do that, list properties. Two, how do you know that we're being honest with you? What if we're closing a bunch of deals with your clients and telling them, hey, don't tell anyone, we'll split this together. Well, that's why we built this, because there's, we ask for some trust, but we also expect that we should be able to verify that trust that we're asking for. So one, if we did a deal as a listing agent, we'd blow up our whole model. But two, this is why we built this out, this dashboard, so that brokers who register their clients with us can see the activity those clients are doing. There's also a third reason why this model, this dashboard makes sense, and that's there's going to be a lot of brokers that jump on this in 6 months and say, well, I invited Mike Jones. Mike Jones has been my client for 30 years and he already registered with someone else, but he wants to work with me. Well, it's, our position on that is we're sorry that happened, but, we can't just arbitrarily reassign clients or buyers with different brokers because there's, broker fatigue after they signed up on our platform. If we did that, we would burn trust with everyone who's registering buyers. So what we tell people is, look, get here early, work hard, sign up 500 buyers, and you'll be able to make a fair amount of passive income off this. But if you wait till the 9th inning and a number of these buyers, or your buyers more importantly, are registered with other brokers, don't expect us to go and reassign them. That's not our plan at all. We're sticking to the brokers that sign up to buyers, and I don't want us burning bridges or trust in that community by reassigning people.
Interesting. So if everybody on the call would like to send me all of their, investors, we'll be happy to sign them up. And no, it's an interesting platform, and it's a very different look at trying to market CRE real estate than what we've seen in the past. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to visit that today. Let me open this up for a second and see if anybody in the audience has questions at this point that we might be able to answer. And we're not getting any at the moment, which is fine. If you do, you can put it in the chat box and I'll be happy to try and answer them if we can.
Are there other parts that you'd like me to show in here? Or
I think this is a pretty good layout. If someone wants to enter listings, if they are not part of an organization that has an API feed, they can enter them manually, or you can set up a feed from your company directly into this. And again, if you're part of Cushman and Wakefield or Marcus and Millichap or Century 21 Commercial, those are already going in as API feeds. But for those who are part of the small independent brokerages, of course, those are listings that you're going to have to add yourself. But you can actually add them one at a time if you need to.
Yeah, so and that's been so a while back we allowed people to submit sort of bulk uploads. And, we were getting them in Excel with images, and, there were a lot of headaches associated with that. A couple things would happen. One, if you're receiving 500 listings through Excel, where there's, each column's a different field, and in listing 101, a field is jacked up from listing 102 all the way down to 500. There could be data moved around because of one cell, halfway through it. So that was one issue. The second one was when we were allowing people to do it that way, we were noticing that they wouldn't update them as frequently as we liked. And we'd have to start chasing firms down to update their listings. And finally, we're like, you know what, that's it. We're done. This is too time consuming for us to basically be an extension of their marketing department. So we're like, if you want to manually put them into our platform, you can do that. You can do them one at a time. You can connect directly to our API, or you can connect to one of the feeders into our API, like a build out, Apto, RealNex, or if you're within the Reology family, your listings are already being piped over. So yeah, we removed that bulk upload. It just was way too time consuming for us.
Carrie Ward has a question, which is, what if my buyer wanted to be involved as their trusted advisor? And of course, Carrie, in your region, wherever you're selling real estate, you can certainly work with that buyer directly and make sure they come back to you and let them know that anything they find on the platform, just like you would with LoopNet or CoStar, you want them coming back to you. But if they're going outside your area, or if they're not loyal to you, then that's when you're losing them. And unfortunately, there are too many investors who do that, losing them to other brokers in other regions. And that's where hopefully you'll at least be able to capture a referral fee. Is that fair to say, Brendan?
Yeah, and I'd also take a little bit of a selfish point here for the woman or the broker who asked the question of, if your buyer wants you involved, you're already receiving a discounted payout. You would be getting at best half of a referral fee. In worst case, if it's year three, you're receiving 25%, or excuse me, 10% of that referral fee. How involved do you want to be for that return on your time? There's pros and cons for a buyer utilizing this. They have to sort of know a little bit. I don't want to say they have to be overly sophisticated, but they'll be able to see more things. They could always pay you in addition to the fee. There's a number of ways to do it, but I would also say, how much of your time do you want to give to something where you are already in a referral role, a fraction of the referral role from 50% down.
Pull us back to regular view. Any other questions anybody's got about this type of platform, or some of the shifts that we're seeing in commercial real estate marketing and investment real estate marketing? Because it is changing dramatically and very, very quickly. We've looked at platforms that are auctioning. That's become a very significant change over the last couple of years. We're seeing platforms like this, and we're seeing a lot of attempts where organizations like this one are trying to create something that allows investors and buyers to see everything that's available, instead of being just picking and choosing what they can actually access, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If not, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. It's an interesting platform, and I think certainly a lot of people will be taking advantage of it very shortly if they're not already. And like you said earlier, there's about $1 trillion in inventory flowing through this platform available on it now. So this is not a small thing. There, what did you say, 42 countries?
I thought it was 43. It's funny, that
43.
number has changed back and forth like 20 times over the past year or so. I check it every now and then. But it's fluctuated 42, 43 back and forth for probably like the past 18 months, so I'm not sure which one.
And nearly 12,000 markets across the globe.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us today. I greatly appreciate it, and I look forward to the next time we get together for a tech talk. Again, I am Lauren Keim with Lehigh University's Goodman Center for Real Estate Studies, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.